Hey everyone, I hope that you are as excited as I am for marrying yoga and CrossFit. If you are, make sure that you give a big thanks to Robert. He is the reason that I went to Mission Yoga downtown Charleston and did a Yin Yoga workshop so that I could bring it to you. So thank you, Robert. And there I learned an intense amount of information in 3 days from Kelly, the yoga instructor. And I am going to try to condense this into 5 minutes or less on what yoga is, in my perspective, what I've learned, and then exactly what Yin Yoga is and why it might be better. So, I did not realize for quite some time that there are different kinds of yoga. So there's power yoga, there's Bikram yoga, there's restorative yoga, there's all these different kinds. And I have found that most of them focus on what CrossFit focuses on, which is the muscles and breathing, strengthening muscles and breathing. And that's great. We add some stretching and everything is good. Except that there is this other type of yoga called Yin Yoga, which is what I learned how to do. And Yin Yoga is not focusing on the muscles. Yin Yoga is focusing on bones, the joints, connective tissue, ligaments. So just for a metaphor, if we got a rubber band and we pulled it, it would stretch, right? Those are our muscles. They're pretty pliable, flexible. However, if we get an old school number 2 pencil from the old school standardized testing and we try to bend it, it's going to snap. It's not very flexible. So our ligaments, connective tissue, these things are basically like our old school number 2 pencils. So how in the world do we stretch them? Well, the scientific studies have proven that in order to get to the joints, to the bones, to the ligaments, those things are going to take in a minimum 2 minutes. At a maximum, 5 minutes is basically what Yin Yoga focuses. So it is going to get a pose, we're going to get into a pose, and then we're just going to stay in it for 2 to 5 minutes. Now, as a CrossFit coach and as an instructor, there are a couple of goals that I personally have because this is going out to CrossFitters. One is modifications. We CrossFit folk, we're not the most flexible, so I am trying to work with a bunch of modifications and different things that we can do. Same exact pose, but just so that we're not stressed while we're in the pose. We shouldn't be in there thinking this is miserable, this is miserable, this is miserable. We need to get in there and be calm and let gravity kind of let us sink down. That's the whole goal. So my first goal is to figure out how I can show you a pose in all these different ways so that we can figure out something that works for each CrossFitter. Another goal is just which poses work for CrossFit. When I was at the training, there were a few that were really painful, and I was like, I could do this. If everyone else is doing it, I can do it. And it was like seal pose. I'm like up there. Well, I have terrible shoulder mobility. So I'm sitting there, I'm miserable the whole time, but I'm sticking it out because everybody else is, by the way, way more flexible than me. I'm the only non-yoga instructor in the workshop. So I wake up the next day and my whole neck is kind of stiff and I'm having a hard time turning it. I know exactly what I did. I didn't modify the way I should have, and perhaps I shouldn't have even done the pose. So I'm trying to kind of mesh what I know about CrossFit, what I know about our immobile ways, and then what I've learned in Yin, and I'm marrying everything so that hopefully we can have a really nice balance to our lifestyle. And then one last thing, just so get it a little hippie on us, we all have seen the little hippie symbol, the little circle with the yin and the yang, or yin and yang. So the yin side is the quiet, the cool, the intuitive, still. And then the yang, or the yang side, is the extroverted and the go, go, go and all these crazy things, right? And it's kind of the fun part of life. It's also focusing on, breathing and getting stronger. So clearly CrossFit, we're focusing on muscles, we're focusing on breathing. That's yang or yang. But so is power yoga. So for 5 years now, I've been doing yoga as a balance, but really I'm doing the same kind of workout. It's both focusing on breath, it's both focusing on on muscles and strengthening. And honestly, it could have been why I hurt my shoulder a couple years ago. My rotator cuff was getting the same type of workout. I wasn't giving myself a break. So let's move into this Yin Yoga, and this is for the Yin part, not only to balance our bodies, which is clearly my biggest goal, but it might also balance your mind. So my last thing to say is that CrossFit's hard. There's a certain person attracted to it, and we're usually the go, 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 busy, let's get in, let's get out, and let's kick our butts, and let's have this mentally hard so we can get through it, but we will. Yin Yoga is deceptive. You're gonna just be in a couple of poses, and I'm gonna tell you to stay there for 2 minutes, but for CrossFit type people, this might be very hard because you're not supposed to fidget. If you fidget, the blood's gonna go to where you're fidgeting and where you're moving instead of going in and letting us restore those joints. So you've gotta stay still physically, and then our minds have to be still mentally. And that is hard. So don't chalk this up as something you don't like. Give it at least a month, and you might find that you in fact do like yoga. It took me a solid month before I decided that I liked it. So I hope that you enjoy, and again, thanks Robert, and maybe this will bring health to all of us. Thank you.